I take his hand, and pretty much instantly we're moving through the cosmos, and I can't tell if the cosmos is moving through us or we're moving through the cosmos. There's movement.
I am beyond excited today because I feel like I have a superstar with me. And look, you've got this big star behind you.
In my own mind,
I do. It's Sharon Sananda, and she just has the most amazing story. She is an NDEr, so she did die and come back, and so she's got an amazing story, and you might have heard it. But today I'm going to start off by asking some more intriguing, thoughtful questions, and then we're going to move into the story of her NDE. But basically, she calls herself a psychic medium. She has an academy where she teaches metaphysical arts, and I've even taken one of her classes, and it was fantastic. So hopefully you all check her out, get involved, evolve yourself, and hopefully this interview will cause you to want to do that. So welcome, Sharon.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, it's a pleasure and honor to be here. I really appreciate it. We're going to have some fun for sure.
Yeah, we totally are. So I have a list of questions, and we're going to go through some of them. I think they might be kind of thought-provoking. So if you had to describe your NDE with only 3 words, what would they be?
Going home. Well, that's 2 words, isn't it? Going home.
Hey, I'll take it. Going home. That's pretty powerful. Okay. Yeah. Because the feeling that we have when we say home is just, home is a place where we feel, I believe, where we feel loved.
Yes. Safe, loved. Nothing outside of that, anything of that matters. That feeling of just complete comfort, and knowing this is where that we never really left. Anything we do outside of home is, it doesn't matter anymore. I mean, we still have our connections to those that we love and things like that. But anything that we thought was important, that was of the earth, besides the love, right? It just kind of washes away. When you're out in the world during your day and you come home to your comfy space,
yeah.
It's like, oh, that wasn't as important as I thought it was. When you come home, you're like, kind of thing. Oh, and multiply that by 1,000,000.
Wow.
That's home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that was really cool to hear, because home is safety. Home is where you want to go at the end of the day. Home is where your heart is. Yeah, love that. Okay. So, curious, what was your faith before your NDE?
Well, I was raised Christian, but I did not resonate. I was raised Catholic, actually, and it just didn't make a lot of sense to me, the Catholic teachings. My sister and I lived with my grandmother for a while. My parents got divorced, and she was very strict Catholic, and so she had to drag me to church. We went Saturday and Sunday, and sometimes before school. I'm sorry, I take that back. Saturday was the only day we didn't go, so we go before school too, a lot of days, unless she was too tired. But it just didn't make a lot of sense to me that God was judging us, and God was so mean. It didn't. Where we went to church, there wasn't a lot about talking about God as being love, and so I would say that my faith was more of, I believed in an all-powerful being, infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it, but I didn't believe in the way the old Catholic Christian church taught about God. And I always felt that the saints in Jesus were kind of put on a pedestal, and then were maybe out of reach for the common people. So there was no way to relate to them in our everyday life, because I wasn't taught that. And and I went to Catholic school for a little while too. So I would say my faith was more on a no faith. It's not that I was an atheist or agnostic, but I was just kind of, being me and not really wanting any kind of a connection. Although I know that I was protected a lot because I probably should have died many times before that, before my NDE. Actually, I've had two, one when I was 9 and one again in 2001. And so I didn't know that it was an all powerful being, but I didn't put a lot of importance or emphasis on connecting.
Yeah, I think our stories relate a little bit there. And then I want to just introduce the idea of, psychology talks about highly sensitive persons, HSPs. Have you heard that term before?
Yes.
Would you say that you are one?
Yes. And I equate that to empathic, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
An empath? Yeah, yes.
It can be another term to use for it. I use the term super feeler in my teachings because I think it is kind of fun to sort of understand the nuance of how we are empathic and how we do super feel. But generally, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what was hard for me as a Christian growing up, because I'm sensitive to anyone in pain, like anyone, an animal, anyone. And so I was taught,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't share this message in this particular way with this formula, you're going to die in hell. And that was a torture for me, a torture. So I had to wrestle with that in my early years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the judgment part that God
I totally
would be
get that.
judgmental.
The judgment part, it didn't make sense to me. So as I started growing up, and I didn't remember a lot of my childhood, and I found out why after my NDE. But as I became a young adult, I was partier. I was able to keep down a job, but I was a partier. I would drink to step down, my childhood, the pain and stuff from my childhood. Then, am I empathic, or my feeling what was going on around me? Those types of things. Yeah, those abilities, and my psychic abilities as well. So after my NDE, that all changed.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Yeah, I think that's common too for empaths because we feel so much more.
Mm-hmm.
And society isn't really designed to support our sensitivities. And so we think something's wrong with us. I actually end up coaching a lot of people who come to me and they first say, I'm too sensitive. I'm too sensitive.
Yeah.
And I'll say, no, you're not. It's your superpower. You've been looking at yourself through the lens of, what other people think or how society is run. So that's interesting to note too.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so
yeah.
Did your faith change after your NDE?
Well, I wouldn't say it changed. I found it.
Oh, you found it.
I found it. Yeah.
Cool. And what do you think was the purpose of your NDE?
Well, like I said, I've had two. The one that was the catalyst for me in 2001, I believe it was to, and I had these communications during and after, but it was multi-fold, multi-leveled. There was so much to it, and it took me a while to be able to process it for sure. And I'm still processing. I'm still remembering things from it. Years later, lots of years later, 20 years later, 22 years later. So as far as the purpose, it was to help me remember who I am, why I'm here. Ooh, and I'm going to start crying. And to remember Yeshua, Jesus, remember him, that he has never left my side. It's just that I forgot. He didn't forget. I forgot. And just remember, it's a matter of remembering, and healing, because my body was pretty battered up, pretty banged up.
Oh,
and hurt.
okay.
So they helped me heal. It also helped me find a better path than that I was on.
Than partying?
So it, pardon me?
I said than partying?
What was that?
A better path than partying?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, partying was fun, but there was a time and a place, I guess, and that time and place was over.
So you mentioned Yeshua. Some people call him Jesus. And you said remembering that he's always been with you. So is this the Jesus of the Bible?
Some. Yes. It's funny. Yes, I would say that, well, he's the Jesus that we all know and can connect. We all can connect to. He's not Christian. He's love. He is with humanity to help us, to be there for us, and and that's what he came to the planet to help us remember, is that we are love, and that's basically all. That's what we are. We are God in expression, which is what he helped me remember too, and what I believe that he was teaching us, and he was sharing in the language that was understood back then. But as far as the Bible goes, I do, and I have not ever read the whole Bible. I'm a bad Catholic. I'm a bad Christian.
Well, you got the message straight from Jesus.
I do love passages.
Yeah.
I love different passages from it. But when I've had conversations with him, and I'll hear something that maybe some preacher or somebody or something comes up, Jesus, says this, or fundamental Christian or whatever, that that's judgmental, that doesn't resonate with who he is and was. I'll hear him say, I didn't say that. Or I said it like this. This is how I really said it. Yeah.
When I had a vision with Jesus.
So, I'm not.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, when I had a vision with Jesus, he basically told me, help people release themselves from their self-imposed slavery. He had taken me to show me Moses, when Moses said, let my people go. They were enslaved in Egypt. And he said that what I would be doing was helping people be released from their own self-imposed slavery, and to teach them what I had come to know about the cross. And basically the symbol of the cross, I felt like he showed me, was to be forgiveness. He was forgiveness, and we can emulate him and be forgiveness. And it was just a very strong message for me to, instead of sitting there like, I'm forgiven, it's I forgive. And so, yeah, we have a lot of that in common with our relationship with Yeshua.
Yeah. I love that. That's amazing. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah. Being forgiveness is just a constant state of pure love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why didn't you stay when you had your NDE? Why didn't you stay?
It wasn't my time.
Okay.
I wasn't finished here with my life plan, with my mission, if you want to call it, my blueprint. And not that I didn't want to. Believe me, I even argued. I wanted to stay, but he helped me understand it. That I wouldn't have wanted to stay once I realized what my he helped me remember why I was here. And if I would have stayed, I would have been pretty upset, because I would have missed all of this.
No, that makes sense.
I would have missed this part of my life. I would have missed the the path I was taking, because if I would have reincarnated, which I probably wouldn't have done, then it would have been, my plan would have been shot. This big plan. We all have a big plan. That's why we're here.
Right. So there's motivation to come back and do what you had planned to do.
Yeah. And I didn't know it at the time, but yeah.
Yeah. So if love was a color, what would it be?
Oh. Well, I'm going to say golden white because that's how I saw him.
Mm-hmm.
He came out of the golden white sun portal kind of thing, and that's how he looked. He glowed to me. I don't know. Yeah, how do you put any kind of, yeah, it's kind of putting a symbol on it, but yeah, that's how it feels.
Mm-hmm. And who on earth now and living today inspires you?
Living on Earth?
Yeah.
Well, you do.
Okay.
Yes. Anyone that's doing this type of work inspires me all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, people who are living their purpose. I'm always inspired by people living their purpose that have the courage to do it and to, break that mold and move forward in a world where sometimes it's not so accepted, especially if you're in your personal circles where it's not. Those are the people that inspire me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how did does your NDE experience affect, let's say, your relationships?
It helps me, and in the aftermath, all of it helps me become, it helps me be more loving for one thing, and allowing people to be themselves and realize that people are coming from their own journey and their own experiences. And especially if I'm have a challenge with someone, I realize that it's because we are coming from our own pain or traumas that we've experienced in our lifetimes. Yeah. And so remembering that, because I do work with past life soul retrieval and helping with that, moving through traumas we brought forward. And ironically, he's the one who taught me about that. Yeshua was the one who taught me about past lives and integrating splintered off, fragmented parts of ourselves. So just being more open and to the fact that I create my own world and how I view everyone around me is it's a projection of how I view myself.
Nice. So you mentioned past life experiences. So is it helpful then to look at that? And I know that's something you do. We'll get into that a little bit more, but why is that helpful?
What I've learned, because he worked with me on it in the very beginning, I made a commitment to be in my room every night at 9 p.m. and meditate with him. He taught me how to meditate and go in deep, because I didn't meditate before I started waking up at all. My meditation was passing out, when I get home, that kind of thing. So, so it's important. And what I've learned is that we come here to experience. We're kind of like planet hoppers experiencing, we're experience junkies. And challenging experiences are the ones that help us the most with soul growth. But sometimes we forget that, and when we're planning out our life, and I have this memory of planning out maybe this life or other, that how dense it is down here in this frequency, right? Okay. And so it's really, really challenging while we're here. and we have that feeling of being disconnected or separated, but we're not. And so we can experience trauma, but unfortunately, sometimes the trauma keeps us stuck, wrapped in that experience, and reliving it over and over and over, and it becomes a pattern. And we choose to, and that part of us becomes fragmented and does not move into the light of the oversoul. Scattered, fragmented. And so we used to know how to heal ourselves that way. We used to know how to take care of that when we were able to, when we lived a lot longer. Because the idea is to resolve those traumas or any challenges within that lifetime, complete that karmic loop within our lifetime. But since our lives have been cut short the last few thousand years, we aren't able to do, we sometimes aren't able to do that. And so trauma can keep us stuck, that part of us stuck on the earth plane, trying, either we don't know, maybe don't know that we left our physical body, that we've died, or we just can't get past it. We have all kinds of emotional baggage, whether it be anger or grief or depression, and or not feeling like justice was served or anything like that. It keep us stuck, feeling judged. Christianity is a big one. With that judgment, that type of thing, not feeling worthy of God's graces, not feeling worthy of forgiveness, whatever it is. I come across that a lot. And so we come here, we reincarnate, and we come back to heal and integrate those parts of us, because our oversoul isn't whole. It's like I see those pieces of the puzzle and bringing them back in. When I was working with him and bringing those pieces of the puzzle back in, I felt so whole. I remember one morning waking up and felt so fulfilled. I didn't feel like eating. I didn't feel like I lacked anything. I just felt completely full and whole. So it's bringing us back to wholeness, basically. And then of course throughout our day we have little parts of us that get fragmented. We suffer little traumas, or we experience little challenges during our life, or big challenges, whatever it is. When I always feel that big challenges, or any kind of challenge or trauma, is, I used to say 90% of the time is from past lives. I know now it's 100%, because we haven't healed it before, because we're moving through the times now where we're moving up in frequency, where life is easier. Our experiences are, we've suffered, we've gone through enough of the traumas, the challenges, where we don't have to do that anymore. And that's what I've learned. I learned that from him. So, it's really important to bring our soul back to wholeness. And this is one way, this is one modality that I find works tremendously. Yeah.
That was explained so well, and in a way, a way that I'm really understanding it. Thank you. Super helpful. This was definitely, even if I got that little piece, I'm so blessed by that.
Good.
Yeah, I think that was a great explanation.
And we used to know how to do this. We used to know how to do this. We just forgot. It's been covered up and covered up. What our true selves have been covered up with the programming, the karmic programming, and lots of stuff that has kept us in slavery, this self-induced
slavery.
I told you, this self-induced slavery.
Yeah. And even as you're talking, I'm seeing the beauty of your gifts and what you are to bring, and having been someone to have an NDE, and then the gifts of teaching that I have. And we both love Yeshua, and we're both teachers, but we have our nuance. But it needs to be that way, because we have got to reach a lot of people.
Right.
So, yeah, I love this. This is so exciting. Okay. So, who are Ascended Masters?
what I understand, ascended masters are people, beings who have incarnated on the earth at some time and have reached that level of spiritual mastery and personal mastery to where they don't need to incarnate any longer to heal anything or complete any karma, that type of thing, any karmic loops. And so they stay with the planet and they stay with our planet or maybe others to help those of us that are working on that, reaching that level as well from our perspective.
Cool. I love that thought. Okay. What is your favorite psychic ability that you have?
I don't know if I have a favorite. I do. I got to say that I love soul retrieval. I see how healing it is, and mediumship too is, when you see how people are so healed with connecting to their loved ones when they couldn't find a way to work with their grief or anything like that. So yeah, there's just so many nuances, isn't there? Yeah.
But I love that you're sharing that because I hope someone out there or a lot of people out there will take you up on, having a session and doing some soul retrieval work so that they can progress. You did that with me. I had a session with you and it was really cool. Really special.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad it was helpful.
Okay. And I want to talk about fear a little bit because fear seems to be, of course, I see, with where I'm at and how I live my life, I see so much love. And I keep my space very sacred. And so I just feel like I'm living in love and joy and peace every day, and I love it. And I chase my sunrise, and I'm helping people, and it's just the most amazing.
There you go.
Yeah, it's the most amazing life. But there are a lot of people still in fear. What are your thoughts on that? Fear.
Yeah, the way I see it, well, fear is an illusion.
Good.
Fear
is an illusion.
Fear is an illusion. It's the mind.
It's not
the mind
real.
That,
it's
creates
just made
fear.
up in the mind.
It's not
right?
real.
Okay.
It's made up in the mind. And it's an acronym. What is fear? There's an acronym for fear. False
evidence.
Experiences appearing real. Evidence appearing real. Yeah, false evidence appearing real. So yeah, it's not. I mean, of course, we do need to have discernment and things like that. And the ego is really good at keeping us in survival mode. If if a car is coming at us or something like that. But yeah, I'm sorry. What was your question again?
It was just, I think you answered it. I just wanted to address fear because there's a lot of fear out there. And I love now that anybody that hears this can know it's an illusion.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I actually love teaching one of my favorite courses.
And it's easy to say, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say one of my favorite courses to teach is what is ego, because ego is fear driven. And I really teach people how, sort of the origin of my understanding of ego and how that ego works and directs us to fear. And to me, it's one of my favorite courses because I believe it's life changing. Because you can follow fear and ego, or you can realize who you really are, which was the purpose of your NDE, realizing who you really are. And in that process, you realize that fear is an illusion, and so then you don't put energy there anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Very powerful. And when I was going through my awakening after my NDE and after my parents passed, it was all a whole big portal of stuff that was going on. I was going through panic attacks and anxiety attacks and all that. Ended up in the hospital a couple of times. So I understand fear, and all these past life experiences were coming up for me, which were in the past, but they were, and also this lifetime too, my childhood, they were still bury my cell memories. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I was feeling the fear at the time as they were coming up for me, and it's debilitating. So I understand it's easier said than done, that fear is not real when you're going through an experience, and you're remembering something, because memories will bring up fear. Our patterns will bring up fear. We'll get triggered certain situations from our memories, and that's what causes a lot of our fear.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're in the past. We're thinking about the past. The past is coming up for us. If we haven't resolved something when it comes up or when we work on it, then we keep getting triggered. Okay. Yeah. So I would say, in order to work through any anxiety or panic or which is caused by fear, right?
Yep.
Fear of the unknown, basically. Is work on healing whatever is causing the anxiety and causing the panic, because that's what I was dealing with. Is I didn't understand why I was feeling so anxious and why I was having these panic attacks until I started started working with me and understanding what was causing all these attacks and these really debilitating bouts of fear.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, our stories really resonate. I struggled with panic disorder, panic attacks, anxiety so severely, and went the drug route for a while, psychiatric medication. I've been completely free of it for 13 years. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to help people with as well, is that it is a process. There is a way about going through it. And I agree with you. It's just words right now. When you're telling someone who's having a panic attack, your fear is just an illusion. Well, that's not helpful in that moment. But there is a way. There is a way to dismantle fear. Definitely. And I love teaching that. Okay.
Nice.
What is your favorite version of nature?
The ocean.
The ocean. You're an ocean girl. Okay. And you kind of live near the ocean, don't you?
No, I live on the river.
Okay.
I live on a river, yeah.
Do you have a favorite animal?
My dog. Oh, and my cat. I can't forget about him.
Did you see animals during your NDE, or was that not part of it at that point?
No. Well, I saw dolphins and whales. Yeah.
You did?
So, yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
When we cover it, yeah.
Yeah, we're almost there. I wanted to ask these fun questions. Is there a favorite place here on Earth that maybe slightly resembles heaven?
For me, the ocean. For me, heaven is a feeling, not a place. Okay. Right? Yeah, it's you could sit in like where we are right now, and be in heaven, and with feeling that feeling of total and surrounding unconditional love. We can feel that in where we're sitting now. So it's not, and I found out, and I understand this, it's not really a place. It's that openness and that pure surrender, total surrender to, I'm getting emotional talking about, to the love that's around us and within us, that, we just have to let go of our stuff to allow it in.
Yeah. Well, when you were speaking, I thought of Jesus said, and I do believe this was correct, the kingdom of heaven is within.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. He said that.
He sure did.
And it freaked the people out. I mean, they definitely had their own interpretation of that. They're like, what? What are you talking about? You are crazy. And then my final question before we get into your NDE, if you could wave a magic wand and make anything happen, what would that be?
We would all I'll be in 5D right now.
Okay.
We'd be in that place that I know that the journey is the blessing.
Yeah.
And Saint Germain came to me very strongly
Oh,
with that one time. Yeah.
okay.
And spoke it in my head very, very, very strongly when I was saying, when am I going to get there? That patience thing, right? I'm sure that's a lesson for a lot of us in this life. And I heard him say, and I'm paraphrasing here, but don't be so quick to dismiss the journey. Yeah. So, if I could wave a magic wand, we would all just be in total love with each other, total love with ourselves first, total love with each other, with the planet. And I'm not going to say there's not going to be challenges in fourth density or fifth dimension or whatever we want to call it, this place that we're moving into, which we are moving into. It's just, there's no way around it. We're doing it. It has to happen. We're doing it. But that everyone, not just on our planet, because a lot of planets are going through it. A lot of, we understand that we would all surrender to it, release the resistance, surrender to it.
Love that. That's a great way to usher us into your NDE stories. The juicy stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Pardon me? The juicy stuff. Oh. All right, like I said, I had two. And I remembered in 2001 when I had the really kind of a catalyst for me, big time catalyst. I remembered that I had another one when I was 9, the age of 9. Okay. So, and that one wasn't as detailed as the one in 2001, because I think they had to really talk me into it in 2001.
Really?
He really had to convince me.
That's funny. That is funny.
And plus, when you're a child, you don't have a lot that you need to clear, the programming kind of thing,
Right.
As an adult, and I was in my 40s, and so there was a lot that he had to deal with, with clearing and undoing stuff. So what I remembered, I'll share when I was 9, I started, after my NDE in 2001, I started remembering that I was dealing with or suffering from abuse from a family member as a child, and others. And so I'm recovering a lot more than I thought I was going through. But at one point, he was beating me up, and he hit me underneath my ribs so hard, and I felt the intense pain. And when I was going through these memories, I could feel everything. I could smell the vomit and things like that if I was throwing up. Just feel, all those repressed memories that where you even repress the pain and things like that, because you repress the memory of it. So I felt that intense pain. I popped out of my body, and I felt this immense peace. No more pain, nothing but peace. And I was floating in where I later found out people have called the void, because I didn't know what any of this was about when I first started remembering these things, and it was just complete darkness, but it wasn't dark, if that makes any sense. It was nothingness and everything at the same time. I felt connected to everything, but there wasn't anything for me to get that was distraction. Okay. I realized that I could connect, and I was connected. I could connect to everything and I'll also still come back and be me, the little girl who I was. But I had this awareness that I wasn't a little girl anymore, but I also had the awareness that I was still a little girl. So it's, how do you put these things in words?
Sure.
So I'm just, so I'm floating there on my back, and I'm floating and enjoying this complete peace and connectedness. And I feel, sense movement, and this light shows up, and I recognize it as Jesus, Yeshua. And he's approaching, and I'm righted somehow. And I recognize him. And at that time, when I'm 9, it's not quite that big deal as it was in 2001. I recognize him, and it's like, oh, okay, because I'm not that far from him, if that makes any sense, as we come into the world. And he crouches in front of me, and he takes my face in his hands, and he says, "You've suffered enough, child. You don't need to go back. You can come with me." And I said, "But I want to go back because I haven't finished what I went to do." And he said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes." And I knew in my mind what at that time, as a 9-year-old, because I had this expanded awareness, that I had still had a lot to do. And so I was instantly brought back to my body. From what I remember, that's what I remember from that. It's quite different in 2001. So I live in San Antonio, Texas, and some girlfriends and I were going inner tubing down the Guadalupe River for a girlfriend's birthday one weekend in June 10th, I believe it was, yes. And we were having a really good time. It was the end of the day. We had taken, if anyone's gone inner tubing down rivers, there's outriggers that rent inner tubes to you, these big tubes that you could float down the river in. So we parked our car there and took the tubes, and then they dropped us off in this little shuttle bus on one point in the river, and then they were going to pick us up at the other end. And so we had a full day, went down the river, got out, and to get out of the river to get on the shuttle bus. And I was the first one of our group, and it was one of those little school buses, old school bus that would carry, I think it carries 13 people, the seats do. And I went to get on the bus and saw that the bus was full. So I started to turn around and get off, and there were people, my friends and people piling on behind them to get on the bus. And I actually got on the steps and was looking back, and they go, come on, you can stand, because it was about 2 or 3 miles back to the outrigger. It wasn't that far. So I didn't want to push everyone out of the way, so I got on, and I was all the way back, and I had my back up against the back door, the emergency door. Oh. And so it crowded people on. And as he was, and I wasn't leaning up against it at the time, but there wasn't anything to hold on to, just the seats were kind of flush. And as he's driving and changing gears, it was a manual transmission. We're being thrown back and forth. And at one point, as he's pulling away from a stoplight, I believe it was second gear, he throws me up against the back door, and the back door pops open, and I fall out. And the bus was pulling a trailer that had all our inner tubes and our ice chests in it. And I fall out, and I'm thinking, I can't believe I'm falling out of this bus. I'm thinking that in my head. I can't believe this just happened. I'm falling out.
Yeah.
And I hit my back on the trailer hitch. I bounced off the trailer hitch onto the ground, and I bounced again onto my side, okay, on my right side. And when I did that, and he's still driving, he doesn't know I've fallen out, I think in my head, stop, you're killing me. And as soon as I thought that, the tire of the trailer ran over my head. Yeah. And that's when I popped out of my body.
Can I
again,
quick
second time.
ask, did you feel pain or was it like too fast?
I didn't feel any pain at the time. Yeah. It was more shock.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
you can, I mean, I remember, you know, different experiences that you've had. Anybody who's been in some sort of car accident, it's like so fast, but yet at the same time, it's like almost time stands still. It's sort of all at the same time. I remember I got
Right.
almost run over on my bike and it slammed me down. I remember being so shocked when someone said, "You're bleeding," because I felt nothing. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I popped out, and I remember before that, I looked, I saw, what, at what point was this? I popped out and I saw a bus, one of the commuter bus and a car driving up to where I was, like, behind the bus that I was riding in, driving up to my body. And I'm thinking, because I'm floating above my body, floating above the scene. And I see that. And I'm thinking, I hope they don't run over. That's the first thing I remember is, I hope they don't run over my body, because that would really make a mess. But I didn't have any connection. I didn't feel any connection or attachment to my body.
Wow.
I knew that I had died. I had that knowing, and at least that's what I was thinking. And I also thought, oh, wow, this is going to really ruin the day for my friends. I was thinking, we had such an awesome day, and here I go and die on them.
Yeah, and kind of ugly in an ugly fashion. Like, how
Right?
traumatic.
Yeah. So it wasn't like I was scared. I wasn't sad. It was just very kind of matter of fact. Oh wow, okay. Well, I guess I died. It was like that. That was my thoughts, and I was thinking about my partner at the time, his ex-partner now, and oh, this might make him sad. And then I thought, oh, he'll be fine. He'll get over it. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. And then I thought about my sister and her family, and I thought, oh, she has her family, she'll be fine. Then I thought about my mom, and my stepdad had died in '98, which was a catalyst that started this whole awakening process for me, and understanding, trying to. And I notice a lot of people, when they have a death in the family, someone close to them, it really changes things. Okay. So I needed to know what happens when we die. And I started studying about mediumship and reading books on what happens when we die from mediums, not from Catholic religion, but from mediums. And so that's when I started having spontaneous out-of-body experiences at that time, sleep paralysis and things like that. So there's a prelude to my NDE too. And and I'm almost finished with my book, by the way. Yeah, I'm working on my book.
Do you have a title?
Yeah. Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. But yeah,
Very
I'm almost
excited.
finished. I scheduled 5 days at the beach next week to hopefully I'll get it
Oh, I'm so excited
first
for
draft
you.
finished. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is my first book. I started 3. So I'm thinking about my mom, who was still here at the time, and we were really close. And I'm thinking, because I kind of took care of her. We just lived about a couple miles from each other at the time, and I feel a presence behind me, and I realize, and I turn, I take my attention. I was kind of, okay, this is kind of boring, and so I turn, and there's my stepdad, who had passed in '98, and we were close, and he was there, and he tells me, intuits to me telepathically, it's not your time. And I remember having this, and it's not really a conversation, it's a telepathic thing, where I'm telepathing to him, but I want to go back. And as we're communicating, I see a portal open up over to this, more to the right, and I see my ancestors in this portal, and it's like they're lined up. I recognize my grandparents, and I recognize some of my relatives from my parents, my biological parents. But there are others that I don't recognize, who I would have recognized here, but I recognize there. If that makes any sense, I recognize them, but they don't have the sense. They're not giving me this sense of welcoming me home. And that was, they didn't last long. Obviously, they didn't want me going down that portal. So then I see this huge light, like a sun, bright, golden white, beautiful portal that looks like the sun, but it doesn't hurt my eyes. And I'm instantly enamored with that. And as I'm watching that form, and it seems to be drawing closer. There's no time and space, so it's hard to describe these things, right?
Yeah.
I see this figure moving out of the sun, this sun, and as he grows closer, and he's in like a white robe, okay. As he grows closer, I recognize him as Jesus, Yeshua. I recognize him right away. Recognize his energy. I don't even have to look to see what he looks like. I just recognize his energy. I recognize who he is. And I fly to him. I fly, not run, I fly. And he embraces me, and I embrace him. And I just missed him, because I hadn't had that connection with that throughout my life, like I needed, obviously. And so he embraced me, and he intuits to me, it's not your time. And I say, but I don't want to go back. Very different than when I was 9. And he laughs. I just feel him. I feel this laughter. He just exudes joy and laughter. And he takes his hand and picks up, my chin like that. And I look into his eyes, and I'm like, and that's when I'm drawn into the light of his love, and who he is, and that encompassing home of the light. Which how do you describe that? It was like it was emerging within the light, and in his eyes, and I was merged with the light. It was tangible. I could sense these bubbles of light that I was a part of, and they were a part of me. I didn't have a body. I could bring my awareness to having a body, but that awareness was gone for those moments, eternity. I don't know, And so I was within that merging, and I could have stayed there forever, definitely. And then he brings me back, or I'm brought back somehow, and he asked me, it was his voice, and he asked me if I'd like to go on a journey with him. Yeah. And so he puts out his hand, and I take his hand, and the physical feeling of him is beyond what we could even imagine here. The physical feeling there of it's more. We're not physical here compared to there. I compare it to wearing a thick glove here.
Okay.
I could feel every line, every nuance of his hand, the feeling of his hand, and to be close to him like that was so much more real, and the senses, because our senses are so heightened there, right?
Okay.
This was totally beyond what we have here. We have this cover, I guess, is, maybe that's our physical body. Our senses are limited here on the earth plane. So yeah, I just felt this really pure, sensual feeling of his hand. It was so amazing. And so I take his hand, and pretty much instantly we're moving through the cosmos, and I can't tell if the cosmos is moving through us or we're moving through the cosmos. There's movement. And it's just, there's stars, lights. It's alive. Everything is alive around us. The cosmos is alive. I can feel it. I know it. It's alive. And I see a light off in the distance, and it's becoming closer and closer. And it looks to be some kind of a portal of some kind of a conduit, a portal, and we go through that. And then there's a beautiful blue green, what I recognize as a planet, okay? And it's a water planet. And I recognize the planet as a home for me in a higher dimensional expression.
Okay.
As a water being. Okay. And we're hovering above the planet, and he's communicating, we're communicating, he's communicating to me that this is an expression that I can go to after my Earth mission. Okay. Where how to put it, a large part of my awareness is there, because we're bringing a large part of our awareness here, right?
Okay.
I mean, we're multidimensional, so we have awarenesses all over the place, because we're huge, a lot bigger than we think we are, right? Our oversoul. So I can bring a large part of my awareness there if I'd like to. And so he wanted to help me remember this this planet that I love so much, and I have a life there. But the really, really, really cool part is, as I'm connecting to the planet, and I get emotional whenever I talk about this too, I am connecting to the soul of the planet.
Okay.
Yeah, and I feel, and I become the soul of the planet. And I have, as the like Gaia is on Earth, right? And so I connect to that soul, and I am her, and I can also move into a masculine and the feminine. And I have so much, as I'm remembering this connecting to the soul of the planet, I have so much love for every single being on my body, down to the tiniest microbe, to the largest thing on the planet. I have so much love for everything that resides on my body, everything. So I'm able to move my awareness from that down to the tiniest microbe as well. I can move my awareness back and forth. Yeah. And then he brings me down further, and I enter the awareness of my life on the planet as a water being. We can call him Mer, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And I have a mer family. I have a water being family. I have a mate. I have children. I have family, parents, and things like that. And so we dive into the water.
Wow.
It's just so amazing. And
Is that when you saw the dolphins?
yes, yes. And they come to greet me, and then I'm in. I lose the awareness of Yeshua, as Jesus,
Okay.
and I'm in the awareness of myself and my mate, my partner. Okay, and I feel that connection. I couldn't tell the difference between the two. Okay, because I'm in the awareness of my life and my children, have my children there, and I'm immersed into that life as this being, and it was the most amazing thing. So
And it felt familiar?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was like I never left.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So when you sense them now, do you have that familiarity?
Well, afterwards, when he told me I can connect, I can go back there anytime, right? Anytime I want to connect from this earth life. And I was doing that pretty much a lot in my meditations because it was just so, it was, home to me. But it got to where I didn't want to come back. And so they had to pull me back. My guides had to keep pulling me back. Yeshua, whoever, they had to keep pulling me back. So, I got to where it was difficult for me to go there in my meditations. Okay. But yes, I do go there once in a while, and it's a really emotional thing for me, especially when I see my children and when I'm with my children. A lot of times I'll have out of body experiences because I'm a traveler, astral traveler, and I'll be in that form, and I'm just there. I portal there or I teleport there or whatever, and I'm in that form and I'm with my family. That's happened quite a bit. So I was there. They had to bring my awareness, my higher self brought my awareness back to the fact that I still had to complete this life. So, I could have been gone for, I was just a couple minutes on the earth plane, but, I don't know if it was years or not. I'm still recovering those memories, still recovering them all. He did show me some things about the future, and this is not linear. None of it's linear. When we had these conversations and when he was showing me these things, we were having conversations as we were moving through the cosmos too. And he did show me a lot of things about the future. He showed me the pandemic. He showed me extraterrestrial baddies.
I'm sorry, what was the word? Extraterrestrial?
Baddies. Bads. Negative.
Oh, okay.
Negative extraterrestrial. He showed me that. Yeah.
And there's obviously positive ones too.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was the purpose of showing you the negatives?
He showed me and the reason I saw it, it was experiences I had had with them in Atlantis, places like that, and I hadn't healed it, so that's why I was seeing it. Okay, because we've come. What I understand still is we've come full circle with Atlantis. Mm-hmm. We're coming full circle, right? And we have a chance to right, what happened before. So the past becomes the future becomes the past type of thing. Yeah. So he was showing me that what I feel very strongly is that, and what I understand for me this was a timeline that we are working on. He was showing me, how do I put it, a negative timeline that we were coming back, that I had to come back to rectify. A lot of us are here to rectify. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I understand, and that's what I got from him, is what he was showing me. I wish they could just sit down with the blackboard and and give us a
It'd be so hard
syllabus.
To do, though, right?
Okay, see, this is what you have to do, and this is what we're showing you. Okay, from now on, this is where you're going. So,
was there any fear at all?
So I had to figure things out too.
Yeah. So was there any fear? Was there any fear that was emoted in you from any of that?
Oh my gosh, yes, I had to work through tons of it. Oh yeah, I'm still working through experiences with negative ETs, and it's just what I'm holding in my cell memory.
Okay, just from your cell memory.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time when Yeshua showed you, there wasn't fear, I'm guessing.
No, no, there wasn't any fear. It was just a knowing. It was just seeing it. Yeah, there wasn't fear. But because I didn't remember my NDE until around a year and a half later. Okay. So there was way too much for me to take on myself, take on in my psyche. My psyche wasn't able to handle it. I had to heal my body. I had to a lot to heal. So I didn't start remembering it until my mom passed. Yeah. And that's when all of it, not all of it, I don't think we ever remember all of our NDEs or our transformative experiences. I don't think we remember all of it. I don't know if our mind can handle that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So as I remembered being with him and I was seeing this timeline, I didn't know it. I was looking at it like looking at a, like you look at a screen, that type of thing. Yeah. In your mind's eye, like that.
Okay.
Yeah. But I had to bring it back here and understand it. Does that make any sense?
Sure.
Okay. Because our mind is not attached to the earth experience when we're there.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is a relief. Yeah. I mean, I'm very relieved at that.
Mm-hmm. As long as we aren't attached to the earth plane after we die, stuck on the, and I believe that's what the Catholics call purgatory. I believe they're talking about, and that just came to me, I don't know, a few months ago, last year, sometime last year. Purgatory is what they're talking about, where spirits get stuck and don't know how to cross into the light, or don't want to, or feel guilty of crossing into the light, or whatever, don't know how. We're not really taught how to die in Western society. Right? Yeah. Christianity doesn't really teach us how to die.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Self-control. Yeah. So I also realized that, the Catholic religion, and there may be others, I don't know, but the Christianity, some of them, teach that we're born in sin, right? It's like, how can a little baby be born in sin? It's not sin. It's our past lives. It's our traumas. I just figured that out recently too, the last couple of years. Oh, that's what makes sense. So they turn around to to make it seem like it's all, it was make it seem like it's something very different.
Right.
That's what I realized.
So how did Jesus wrap this up with you? How did he bring you back?
Well, I don't remember that part yet.
Oh.
Mm-mm.
Really?
The next thing I remember is I felt a pull. I felt a pull while I'm on in the water, in the water planet, and there was land there underneath the water. There were caves and crystal caves. Oh, just gorgeous. So I felt the pull, and that's when my awareness came back to Earth. And the next thing I know, I'm in my body on the road.
Oh.
In the middle of the road, and I jump up and run to the side of the road, and I can walk in my, I'm a mess, and the bus driver has stopped by then, and my friends get off and help me, and they take me to the hospital, call an ambulance. The bus driver called his company calls an ambulance, and they pick me up, or they come and get me, which took forever because they gave me the wrong address or wrong cross streets. And that town was not that big. But anyway, and so they took me to the hospital, and they did a bunch of x-rays. Was losing my hair. My hair was falling out from the tires running over my head from road rash. I have, road rash on my legs too, on one leg. And my ear was torn apart. Luckily, it was connected, so they had to glue my ear together.
So how did
I lose you?
For a second, yeah. How
Okay.
did the memories come? How did those, was it in dreams, or how did that happen?
Well, what happened was after my mother passed, I was connecting with her, and I had started, after my stepfather passed, I started connecting with him. And so when she passed, I wanted to connect with her because we were really close. And she was telling me that she has someone here I want you to, meet or reintroduce you. And I felt this really strong presence, but I didn't know. And when you're here, you don't feel worthy of that love when you're here, especially if you've had traumas and things like that. You don't feel worthy. When you're there, it's natural.
Okay.
And so she's like, so we're having a conversation, and I'm using a spirit board to talk to her, by the way, an angel board, a spirit board. And she said, I have someone here, and he's a guide for you, that type of thing. So I'm asking her about him because I feel nervous about her stepping out and him stepping in. I feel out and him stepping in, that masculine energy. And I said, is he like an ascended master? Because I just started learning about that type of thing. And she said, he's top shelf.
A superstar.
Like, oh. Huh?
A superstar.
A superstar. Top shelf is what she called him. Top shelf. So, so finally one day I said, okay, I'll talk to him. And she steps out. I feel her energy step out, his energy step in. And I cried for a week. I just felt that love was, I still didn't remember anything at the time. And as we're having conversations, so then I couldn't wait to talk to him. I couldn't wait to get off work and talk to him on my board. I was talking to him on a spirit board, an angel board, talking to him. I couldn't wait because I felt so in love with him so in love with me. It was just, it's just the all-encompassing love. Felt that so deep that he actually cherished and loved me. There was no doubt about it. And then one day he says that he's Christ. I said, oh, okay, like Christ consciousness and all that like that. He goes, no, Christ. because he was trying to get me to realize, he was trying to trigger my memory.
Mm.
And he knew I was raised Catholic, and I didn't, I was like, Jesus is okay. Jesus is all right with me, but but I don't, it didn't make any sense to me the way he's taught.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that was my ego mind, the traumas and stuff that I had suffered, which I remembered in other lifetimes about the Christian faith, or Christian religion, or Catholic. And so when I finally realized it was really him, he was able to in my meditations, I told him, okay, I'll be in meditation. And he showed me in my meditations that it was him. And that's when I started remembering. I remembered in my meditations, pretty much all in my meditations. He told me start journaling, start writing things down, journal everything. Also journal your dreams. I have out-of-body experiences more than I do have dreams. So I was remembering those as well, but mainly in my meditations, in my out-of-body experiences. And I started remembering and having conversations with him. Yeah, all kinds of ways, basically. But those were the primary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it just all started falling together.
So does the term Christ consciousness, what does that mean to you?
It's what it means to me is it's that part of us that we all are connected to, that we're all a part of, the light of Christ. I mean, I understand that, but he tells me that, when he walked the planet, he was just being love. He came here to be love and show us that. I mean, he was human. He had a human life. But Christ consciousness is that term for our God self, is what I understand.
Oh, the God self.
Mm-hmm.
Which is who Jesus claimed to be, too.
Right.
But we're like Jesus.
We are too.
Yeah.
We just, we're not channeling it like he was.
Yeah, on his level.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, he told us, these things I do, you can do and more, right? To paraphrase.
True. He sure did. Mm-hmm. You're right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He tells us that all the time.
Yes. So
then I have that conscious communication with him, and he saved my life for sure many times.
I think a nice way to end this is to share with us how we all can have a relationship with Yeshua and experience, that kind of love that you're talking about with him.
Yeah. Well, I would say, everyone's different with what they have going on in their, cell memories and stuff, but he's there for all of us. He's there for everyone who asks him to be present. I mean, he's there already. That was another thing. I made a deal with him. I remember that now. I said, okay, I'll go back, but you have to be there with me. And he said, I already am, but yes, you will remember. I said, I need to remember you. I made a deal with him. I need to remember. And I'm getting emotional talking about, I need to remember you in order for me to be able to do it. And he fulfilled that promise. So, of course, he would. Just invite him in, and surrender to and trust that he's there, and use discernment. Anything that feels good is good. If it doesn't feel good, it's not, right? And that's what he told me. The rule of thumb is, if it makes you feel bad and it feels heavy, and it's then it's the ego. If it's based in fear, makes you not feel bad, makes you feel queasy, whatever is based in fear. And he's all about love, and I spend pretty much every morning, and I would suggest spending at least, once a day with him, communicating with him, journaling, writing, getting things out, and communicating with him, because he's there with you, and he's showing up more and more and more. I'm sure you noticed that too, Kim, right?
For me, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
Yeah. And with clients, and I don't think it's that he's showing up. I think that we are opening the gateway to bring in that love, because that's what he is.
Mm-hmm.
And just trusting that it's him, because we are the second coming.
Okay. We are.
He's coming through. He comes through us.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah.
I've not heard it said that way. We are the second coming. He comes through us. I take notes. But you just said, Jesus said, write everything down. That's what I do.
Yeah.
We are the second coming. He comes through us. Well, that is such a blessing. I loved hearing that. This has been amazing. I am so touched.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I always enjoy, ever since we met, I've been enjoying visiting with you. And thank you for having me.
Yeah. We will visit again.
Sure. And yeah, you're going to be on my show too.
Yes, I love that. And so I'll have in the description a link to your website and YouTube channel. And, the second your book comes out, you have to let me know and I will tell everybody. Well, actually, we'll have you back on and we'll talk about your book.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
Sounds
you
good.
so much.
All right. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.